Welcome to Launch Code, a premier business podcast, starring Evan Hafer, Matt Best, and Jared Taylor.
Welcome to Launch Code. I'm your host, Baker Leavitt. We're here at SHOT Show and joined by Tim Johnson, who is an MMA guy, fought in UFC, currently fighting in Bellator, Army vet from Minnesota via
Fargo, North Dakota,
which is very made famous by a movie. So, Tim, fought in the UFC.
Yep.
Now you're in Bellator.
Correct.
Obviously a multi-millionaire. You've made it in life.
Yeah, not quite, but I'm probably about 100 fights away from that, yeah.
There you go. So, you're in the Army. What'd you do in the Army?
Combat engineer.
All right. So, how old were you when you went to basic training?
I was 21 when I went to basic, so I had took 3 years out of high school to actually make the decision.
What were you doing before you enlisted?
Let me see. I went to school at junior college for a couple years, but then I was basically just doing road construction, and then Midwest road construction is only during the winter or during the summer. Then winters are off, so basically just hanging out on my couch and getting drunk every night. So it wasn't being very productive.
Common theme.
Yeah.
Sports. Any sports growing up?
Yep. Football and wrestling were kind of the main ones.
Did you play any sports in JUCO?
Yes, I wrestled. Actually, my first year in JUCO, I played football and wrestled. And then my second year, I just went with wrestling, and then I went to basics because that whole drunk every night thing, didn't really like it. So went to basics and then went over to Minnesota State Moorhead D2 school and wrestled for them my last couple of years of eligibility.
How long were you in the Army?
10 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What year did you go in basic?
Would have been 2006. Yep, at Fort Leonard Wood.
Okay.
Yep.
And then went overseas?
Yep. And we were over, we were on the drawdown. And so our unit was basically tasked with two different missions. Like half our freaking unit got to go do our jobs, which was, do route clearance. And then the other half did convoy security, which I think everybody's done that at some point in time down there.
Did you like your time in? I
did. I actually enjoyed it quite a bit. My biggest problem was starting to get more time for fighting, taking off time and trying to align my fights up with all of our training and stuff. And my unit overall supported me as much as they could, but when I was starting to put in request sheets every other week for time off, it started becoming a little bit more of a hassle.
So, I know some guys that have fought in UFC. I know some guys that currently fight in UFC. I know some guys that fought in Bellator, fight in Bellator. How the hell does that work, man? So you wrestled, grew up, doing, played football. I played football in the JUCO as well, which was eye-opening experience. I was good in high school. I was a terrible college football player.
I'm right there with you, man.
Game got a lot fucking faster, a lot more complicated.
Yep.
What do you mean I got to know the plays, man? What are you talking about? I'm just going to run and you can throw me the ball.
They tried making me do a new whole position when I went to college.
Which was what?
They tried to put me on D-line. I was a running back and a linebacker.
So you guys can't see it, but Tim's a big bitch. Real big. How big are you right now?
About 285.
How tall?
6'3".
And what'd you weigh in high school?
High school is about 220, 230. And only college? About 6'1". I actually grew in college an extra couple inches.
Okay.
And put on about 40 pounds.
So you wrestled in high school, played football, then you played some football and wrestled in JUCO, and then you went and wrestled in a D2 school.
Yep, correct.
All right. And joined the Army.
Yep.
When did you have your first MMA fight?
I see. My first MMA fight would have probably been 2010. It was just right after nationals, the national wrestling tournament. A group of guys, heavyweights are hard to come by. So there was a couple old heavyweights that wrestled at MSUM who were in MMA who asked me to come roll with them because they just needed another big body. I never had any intention to ever fight. I'm just yeah, I'll come roll with you. I don't want to get into punching or kicking or any of that stuff. But yeah, I still want to compete in something. Went and trained with them. Within 6 weeks, I'm all right, I want to take my first fight. And I skipped amateur and went straight to pro.
How did it go for you?
Pretty good. Just wrestled. I remember taking the guy down and was on top of him for like a minute going, oh yeah, I can punch this guy. My very first fight, MMA, I reared up and punched it straight into the mat. I missed the guy by about 2 feet, I guarantee. And ended up getting a TKO, but that was, even then, that was before I started training. I think my first 6-7 fights, all I did was wrestle. I didn't even train like
Really?
MMA, like how, for how raw I was.
So you're in the Army, you're training, learning to fighting professionally.
Yep.
Tell me, like, walk me through the journey, like how to get into the UFC.
I think it's not being afraid to fight the top people in your regions. The biggest thing for me is actually a training buddy now, and he came to my gym. His name was Brian Hadeen, and he was the fight that I took that I actually started taking fighting seriously, because around our area, I think he's a year younger, same age as me, but at the time he already had like 50 fights in, and he's just this keg, this keg of beer with freaking arms on it, and he can knock you out in one punch. I remember thinking, I'm like, I don't want to go out there and look stupid, so I better actually start training MMA. And then, defeated him, then another prospect, and then another prospect, and then ended up fighting old UFC, Bellator vet, 1FC vet, Travis View is his name, and TKO'd him, or KO'd him, I can't really quite remember. And just at the time there was an agent in the crowd who wanted to sign me afterwards, and within probably 5 months I was signed with the UFC. And so for me, with regional promotions have a big problem with guys bouncing around. It's almost like they want to keep their record really, really good, so they don't really want to fight someone that's above them or on their level, because they could potentially lose. So I think the biggest thing is take risk.
They didn't want any blemishes on. They don't want any blemishes on the record.
Exactly. And to me, I always looked at it this way: a loss to a good guy is way better than a wins over 5 wins over whoever.
Inferior opponents.
Yep.
So you sign with an agent.
Yep.
And then, you go from regional competition to professional.
Yep. Regional straight to the UFC. Yeah.
So what was how when you signed with the UFC, they're like, hey, you're here for a year, you're here for 3 fights. You're here for how does that work, man?
For me, I think it goes different for every fighter. For me, it was a 4-fight deal, which I actually think it's kind of almost uncalled for your first go is to have a 4-fight contract deal is not very common. So I was very happy about that part.
Because most of them are 3-fight deals or something?
Yeah, or a 1-fight, 1-off, show me what you got. If you perform, then we'll do another one, stuff like that. But I was able to kind of sneak my way in, I guess. I don't know.
So, how long did your first fight, from the time you signed with an agent, how long until your first fight in the UFC?
See, I signed with them in November, and my first fight with the UFC was April 4th, 2015 in Fairfax. And
what was your training like leading up to that first fight? Were you hey, I got to get serious now, or?
It was still training like it was. Leading up that fight, I was working at a bar, bouncing at a bar, driving truck about 30 hours a week, and doing Uber while I was still training.
So you weren't getting paid by the UFC?
No, not at that time. I only get paid when you fight, and you only get paid decent when you win.
How'd your first fight go?
Ended up just like I said, my first fight in the UFC, I still didn't even know how to throw a punch yet. So it was a lot of me running around for 3 minutes, getting punched in the face, and then luckily he threw a kick and I caught it, took him down, and I got a ref stoppage TKO with 1 second left in the first round.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So did you go into that that bout with a game plan, or?
No, generally none of my bouts I really try. I just kind of wing it, because and this is just kind of my opinion on it. It's good to have an idea of what you want to do, but it never goes the plan anyway. So you just kind of got to keep an open mind and fight wherever the fight goes, I guess.
Didn't Mike Tyson say everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face?
Yeah, and that's a true statement.
Really?
You gotta, however you picture the fight going, it's all going to change. But you can have a strategy down and try to stick with the strategy, but it never goes as planned.
So, all right, so that's in April. First
Yep.
fight, win your first fight.
Yep.
How much money did you make on that fight?
That fight actually lucked out. I think it was a 6-6. So I had $6,000 to show, and then $12,000 if I won. So
So 6 to show, 6 if you win.
Yeah, so total $12,000. But actually, with the TKO, I got one of the performance bonuses. So I won $50,000 that first. So $62,000 I won.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So
game changer.
Exactly. I'm like, oh, goodbye student loans. Hello, I'm gonna be responsible. This money. Oh yeah, I can't wait till the next fight. Another $50,000. Like just.
That's actually really interesting. So like, was your goal to get the bonus, the fight bonus?
Yeah, actually, that was a goal of mine. I was to try to get that bonus.
So that was something that you were conscious of that, and like you're like, all right, I want to win, and then I want to get the fight bonus.
Yep, exactly.
That's awesome. So that's April.
Yep.
$62,000.
Yep.
How much of that $62,000 did you get to keep?
Let's see. So taxes, the 50% or the $50,000 was taxed at a higher level. So I think taxes. I'll give you the kind of runabout. So I got all that money. I'm like, I'm gonna be responsible about this. I had probably about $38,000 in student debt. So I'm like, because I went to college for like 8 years and just kept switching my majors.
Right.
And so I'm like, all right, I'm going to get rid of basically all of this, thinking like that will be a tax credit because you're taking these loans, you're paying them off. Generally, like you use them as a tax credit. Well, like the rules change somewhere down the line that to get tax credit for it, it has to be paid off within that year that you take out the loan. So at the end of the year, taxes came a knocking and found out that probably out of that portion, I think I got taxed about $24,000, and then 10% to my agent, then a percentage to your gym or whoever as well.
So that $62,000 quickly became not much money at all.
No, not much money at all.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So for those of you listening, make sure you have an accountant.
Yes, exactly.
Before you spend any money, any windfall, fight bonus, inheritance, whatever kind of windfall you get, talk to an accountant.
Somebody who actually knows. Don't assume you know.
Right. All right, so that's April, first fight, win, fight bonus. Second fight, when was that?
Second fight would have been in August of that same year of 15. I can't remember what the date was, but it was in Nashville, Tennessee. Against Jared Roseholt. He was a 4-time All-American wrestler for Oklahoma State.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So that went to decision that I lost, but if I'd had about 20 more seconds in that one, I would have had him running around giraffe-legged in the ring. So I would like to point out I got more takedowns than he did in that fight, but I fought pretty stupid.
Do you feel that you won that fight?
No, that one I don't. The first 2 rounds, I got to take him down. Then he reversed me, and I spent a lot of time on my back. But that third round, actually looking at the numbers, it's funny we're bringing it up because I was just looking at all my old stats, all my old fights, and I threw probably landed 60 or so more punches than he did that whole fight. But I spent too much time on my back.
So, it sounds like you were a better fighter, or at least more technical, or learn how to box more between your first and second fights.
That one, the last one, I was throwing punches because I knew I was losing, and I actually connected on a couple where almost me went down. But I was still kind of a brawler. My technical, where I got really technical, was my third fight. When was that? That was good question. I think that was March of the following year in Croatia.
So from August, so you fought in November, then you fought in August, and then you didn't fight again until March.
Yep.
And so in Croatia.
Yep.
Did you have to pay to get yourself there?
I didn't have to pay to get myself there. Yeah, they paid for me in one corner, and so then I had to pick up the tab for the other two cornermen that I brought on. With that, it's a lot of. We do fundraisers basically of our gym,
right.
Stuff to just kind of raise money and to help get our corners there. There was a guy in Fargo there that always sponsored us pretty good. He'd usually be good for one ticket.
Oh wow!
But yeah, otherwise nope. It's you and one corner is what's paid for.
All right, how'd that fight go?
That fight went really well. I actually was bound and determined not to wrestle at all. I'm going to stand here. I'm going to throw punches. I don't care if there's a takedown opportunity. I'm not going to go for it. And actually, during that fight, there was 3-4 really good times where I was in tight and I actually backed out so I could start striking because I didn't want to. I knew after your third fight, if you can renegotiate a contract, so I wanted to show that I was more than just a wrestler. So I won that fight by unanimous decision. Ugh.
How much did you make on that fight?
That one would have been 10, 10, 8. Like 10, 10.
So 20 grand.
Yep.
What'd you get on your second fight?
8, 8.
So you lost, but you got 8 grand.
Yep.
And that was it.
Yep.
62,000, 8,000, and then second or third fight was 20.
20. Yep.
All right, no bonus.
Nope, no bonus.
Were you working for the bonus?
That one probably wouldn't have been. I mean, if we would have had a little more action, we might have had. Actually, no. There were some good fights on that card. We wouldn't even had a chance to be fight of the night. Yeah.
All right, so you got a record of 2-1.
Yep.
And did you renegotiate for the third fight?
Yes. Actually, I ate a head kick from absolute hell during that fight, and I came home. And I totally forgot that I signed an extension. Like my agent sent me email, hey, this is what blah, and I signed it. And after my fourth fight, I'm like, hey, are they going to extend me? Because I totally forgot that I signed it. I didn't even know. I was all concussed and shit. So he's like, oh, we already extended you. This is off your. Yeah, you got 3 more fights left. I'm like, oh, I guess I didn't know that.
So you 3 fights and you extended 3 fights.
Yep.
All right. Fourth fight.
Fourth fight would have been against Alexander Volkov in Ireland. He is, let me see, I think at one point here he was just rated 3rd in UFC rankings. I think I won, and every MMA media site watching the fight said I won, but the judges gave it to him.
And what'd you make on that fight?
That one would have, I think that one was 12-12.
So you get 12 grand out of that.
Yep.
All right, so now you're 2-2.
Yep.
And then getting better, advancing.
Yep.
Still in the Army at this time, right?
Yep, I was still in.
Okay.
Yep.
And then how'd your fifth fight go?
Fifth fight. So I did win loss in all my fights. I lost to what was his name? Junior Albini. He was a Brazilian prospect in New York.
So you win, loss.
Oh, wait a minute. No,
you won the fifth
hold on,
fight.
time out. That was second to last. Sorry about that. Then I went to London and fought Daniel Malinsky. So I was doing a lot of fighting overseas.
How did that fight go?
I won that one by unanimous decision as well.
And that was how much?
That one, since I was in my second contract, I think that got me 14.
28 grand now.
Yeah.
And then so 6 fight. Sounds like it might be a loss.
And that was, since it was a loss, I think it was, that was 14. So I didn't go up in tier because I lost that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your UFC contract has come to an end.
Nope, one more left.
Okay, so
I actually left the UFC with a win.
All right, who was your final fight?
Against honestly, I can't remember his name. He was a Brazilian Gomez Gonzalez. I can't remember. I fought down in Belém, Brazil, and won that one.
So this is 6 fights now?
That was the one I'm talking about, 7 right now.
7 fights and only 1 in the US.
2, yep.
2 in the US.
2 in the US.
5 all over the globe.
Yep.
What was that like? Like traveling the world?
I loved it. I mean, that portion, it was basically I'm getting to travel for free. For 3 in the US, 4 worldwide. I forgot about the first one. But yeah, no, the way I looked at it was because they'd send you out 8 days, 7 days early. So, and there's a lot of time that you had on your own, and you get per diem. So you get to the days you don't have scheduled events, you can go rent a car, go see all the tourist sites. Like that part was pretty cool, at least.
Professional athlete.
Yeah.
So you were still on the Army at this time?
Nope. I got out 2 years ago. So
before your 6th and 7th fight.
Yeah.
Right.
I got out after my Volkov fight was my Ireland fight. Yep.
Was that an easy decision?
No, it wasn't. I actually went back and forth on it a lot.
Really?
And it was, decisions like that. Like I knew down the road that I'd probably be moving or going somewhere else, and didn't want that hindrance. And the game plan's always to get back in eventually. Got 10 years in to get my last 10. But just for the time being, it was just time to try putting a little more time into fighting.
Right, getting a little more serious.
Yeah.
All right, so your UFC extension and contract are up.
Yep.
Did they want to extend?
From what I've gathered from my agent, not really. There wasn't a lot of interest, which I thought, my last fight, I knew it was the end of my contract. I was like, well, they keep putting me up against these freaking prospects. So you know what? I'm not going to risk losing a prospect. I'm going to grind out a win, and then I'll be exciting against. I'll try to go out there and fight nice and hard against someone who's, in the top 10. So I was going to grind out and maybe get like a little 2-fight contract, get opportunity. At this time, I was always in the top 15 ranks wise too. So I was always wanting a top 10 fight and never was able to get it.
So, I mean, even though you were at the top of the sport, I guess, the UFC, even though you were at the top of the sport, you were at the UFC, like the NFL, so to speak, like, it seems like it was like every fight was like make or break.
Yeah.
What have you done for me lately type situation.
Yeah, and I mean, that's no secret. I think with any fans of UFC kind of knows that's just the way. What have you done for me lately? Kind of mentality,
Right.
Yeah, that's just who's the hot name, who's going to pull a draw. Like that's kind of how they base a lot of stuff off of.
See, I didn't know that like the money, is what it is, or it is the way you're describing it. Like I thought, like, oh man, UFC,
yep,
top of the damn mountain, like and I guess you associate, you think everyone in the sport just because they made it there has made it, but it sounds like once you make it to, let me take a step back. Good high school athlete, you get to college, reset.
Yep.
Reset. Great high school athlete. You get to college, totally different ball game. You got to reset, start over, so to speak. Then you join the Army boot camp or basic training. I'm sorry, reset, another reset, starting over. Private. And then you start doing some regional fights. From training to regional fights, reset again. Then you start doing some pro fights, reset again. UFC, another reset. So that's actually really interesting. Like it just sounds like you have to constantly be willing to humble yourself and just realize that you're at the bottom of the barrel and you got to work your way up.
Yeah, that's literally the best way to go. I mean, there's a lot of shows, like Contender Series and The Ultimate Fighter, which produce a lot of good fighters. They put a lot of good fighters on there, but the odds of people making that show is still pretty slim. I mean, your best bet's still to be start in the bottom and try to work your way up, and then even when you get there, you still got to keep working.
There's no easy day.
No, there is not.
So UFC contract's over. You said they weren't very interested in re-signing you, and then where'd you go from there?
I went to Bellator. My agent, I was kind of in cahoots with him, talking to him. I said, well, wherever I end up, my number one pick is going to be Bellator, and I got asked, why is that? I'm like, well, they're number 2 in viewership. They're not up there with the fan base is like UFC. I mean, but Bellator's pay-per-views and versus UFC's like fight nights, they're comparable numbers for viewership. So more viewership, more exposure, and the money's been a little better over at Bellator as well. So
how long have you been with Bellator?
I signed with Bellator in May. And I had a fight I fought in October.
How'd that go?
Not good.
Yeah. Okay. What happened?
Well, it was kind of I got my wish, be careful what you wish for. The first guy they put me against was Czech Congo.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and I was happy. I'm like, finally, this is all I would want. I just wanted a chance at a name, a guy like known and awesome, and which if he wins his next fight, he'll be fighting for the belt too. So that was kind of what we were told at a press conference. Basically, is like, hey, which one of you ever to win this fight, you're gonna be in line for the belt. I was like, oh shit, this really is all right.
Yeah.
And did not fight like I thought I did.
What happened?
I'll even say panic. Yeah, I was trying to rush everything. Usually I'm a kind of like, I'll take some punches, I'll give them back, I don't care, I'll take a beating. But everything, I was really tense. It kind of almost panicked, went in for a shot, and honestly, I didn't even know what hit me until I watched the replay. And I came in on his leg and a little uppercut right on the money. Body kind of went limp, kind of went down. Then I'm grabbing for a single leg, and the ref stops it. I was like, oh, come on, man, I'm still here. But after seeing the replay, I'm like, okay, I can see why the ref jumped in right away. Like, I'm not too angry about that. But just kind of, I can handle losing. I think most people can. It's just working your ass off and all that. You want to go out. If you're going to lose, go out in a war, not getting tapped on the jaw and tipping over.
Not getting caught.
Yeah. So,
were you ready for the fight, like physically?
Yeah. I had a really good camp, actually. I was in pretty good shape. Because let me see. I don't think I had any real bumps and bruises that fight camp. So I was rare and ready to go. That was out of all my fights I've ever had, regional or UFC or anything. That was like the one that I had like the most confidence going in, as in, I know I'm supposed to lose. I'm an underdog, which I like being an underdog, but I was ready to shock people. Like that one, I was like, yes, I got this. Let's go do this. And
you thought you were going to win.
Yeah, I totally did. First out of all my fights.
Have you ever gone into a fight not thinking you were going to win?
I'm a do the realist thing. People like, don't let that seed of losing plant in your head. And I'm like, no, I'm a realist. After I realize I can lose a fight, I can go fight. Like, I'm not scared to lose then,
right.
But I know in the fight going, knowing anything can happen. Generally, this was the one where I'm like, I'm going to go in there and win.
So I hear the term like fight camp. If you had a good camp, what does camp mean?
Like you're working out, you're training, all that. But once you get a fight sign, and usually you want no less than 8 weeks, like of hard work. And that's basically what you're talking about. A fight camp is you just up your intensity and up your workouts, and you just kind of put your body through the meat grinder, so to speak.
How long does a camp usually last?
I've had a 6-week camp before. That seemed like it was a little short, but generally 8-9 weeks is kind of where you want it at.
All right, so that was in May?
Yep.
Have you had another fight since?
No, but the fight was in October.
Okay.
Yep, I haven't had another fight yet. This one, I'm hoping maybe in March. So.
And what was the money on the Chet Congo fight?
That was 28.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you're getting up there now. That's a different ballgame, yeah. Because the previous ones, you're 14. You win, you get 20. Okay.
Yeah, so, and, that was kind of another thing, too. Like, one of the prospects I beat with the UFC, I saw what he made winning, and I realized that while we were both in UFC at the same time, him just weighing in made like 10 grand more than me for winning my fights, and I beat that guy. So
he got money for making weight.
Yeah, like for his show money was like 32 grand, and his win money he made 72 grand for winning. So I realized how much more money he was just making weight than I was winning.
And that was a
prospect I fought and beat.
What? And you've said that phrase a couple of times. What does prospect mean?
Basically it's, you have like, I fought a bunch of prospects from like overseas and down in Brazil and stuff. It's a hot commodity. Like this he's the next so-and-so. He hasn't, it's someone who they think that's going to turn out to be a star or someone big. So I had to fight a lot of prospects.
So they're basically banking on those guys becoming like stars and stuff.
Yep.
Oh, that's interesting. So did you sign a contract with Bellator?
Yep, 4-fight contract.
4-fight contract. So you're hoping your next fight will be March.
Yep.
So what do you do between fights?
Just work.
What kind of work?
I still I picked up I actually do, like, my family, like, I've been involved in truck driving my whole life since I've been a kid. And any chance I can find a job like driving truck part-time or something, I actually love getting behind the wheel and driving truck. So I was still doing that, and then working at the bar maybe only once or twice, 2 nights a week. I cut my bar time down a little bit. But since I moved out here, it's just kind of been waiting to try to find the right scenario, because I actually like staying busy. I don't like just going and training and then I go sit at home. I feel like a lazy pile of shit. I like to keep myself somewhat busy.
What, like how does your daily training go? Like, how does that work?
Since I came out here, it's just been I moved to Extreme Couture as the gym out here. Just basically making it there once a day and then doing something else on my own once a day as well. So trying to do like 2 workouts a day basically. So
March, you hoping for another fight in March?
Yep.
Any clue who you might be fighting, or?
Not a clue yet. I'm kind of hoping that maybe if I win my fight and then Jack Swagger wins his, maybe we can make it happen.
Who's Jack Swagger?
He's a WWE wrestler who he's actually making his first fight is in the MMA or in Bellator is this weekend.
Oh, wow.
So I'm going to try to hope maybe he wins and I win. Maybe we can have ourselves a nice little tussle.
So what's the long-term goal here?
You know, to me, it's competing. I got my degree. I got, ideas for when fighting's done. And, I'm going to listen to my body. I'm not going to be one of those guys that gets freaking punch drunk. Once my body tells me it's time to be done, I'll be done. And that's just basically, I'm just riding it as long as I can.
How do you feel now physically?
Pretty good yet. I definitely feel 33 now, not 28. I never understood how big of a drop off that would be, but now I understand it.
Right.
And but in heavyweight sense, I'm middle of the road. Heavyweights generally fight till they're like 38, 39, 40, 41. So,
why is that?
Because I think the last thing that leaves a fighter is their power. So I think that's why, and heavyweights, that's kind of a lot of their bread and butter. So they can go out there and still throw leather.
What are some of your weaknesses?
Some of my weaknesses.
What do you suck at?
I suck at a lot of stuff, actually. I'm not a very technical fighter. Definitely kicking. I am not kick. No, that's all right. If you see, and the thing is, anyone who's fighting me, they'll know that if I try to even fake a kick, they're going to look at me like I'm stupid because they're like, yeah, right, dude, you ain't fucking throwing that.
So you don't throw kicks at all?
Maybe once a fight.
Do you train kicks?
I do train them, but I'm like misproportioned. Like I'm all torso. My legs are like super short. So
yeah, short femurs built for poverty, like me. Yeah,
yeah.
I get it.
I'm all torso. If I was skinny, I'd look like really weird walking down the street because I'm just like 3/4 torso.
Right. So, kicks are not is not your forte.
No, definitely not.
Not technical.
No.
What else?
I mean, I do some elbow strikes. I don't throw too many knees. I throw some knees to the body against the cage, but basically pretty much any Muay Thai stuff. I guess isn't my repertoire. Boxing, if we're talking technical boxing, no. If we're talking like dirty boxing, yeah, that's my wheelhouse.
What are your skills?
Just my wrestling background, submission, and even then, jiu-jitsu. I'm not super good. I'm a white belt. Like I do submission wrestling. Four good submissions that I like a lot, and those are the ones I work.
Have you ever submitted anybody?
I have 1, 2, 3. I think I have 3 or 4 submission victories. Yeah.
What are some things like that people would be fearful of? Like other fighters just don't want you to what them?
They don't want me to get them on the cage.
Okay.
Like cage is like my home. Like that's I guess the saying is wall install. It's
right.
what a lot of people will say it. I'm like, well, it might look stalling to you, but I'm trying to wear this guy out so he doesn't one punch me. All right.
Right.
But it's kind of a grimy, dirty type style where I'm trying to make that guy's like life in their hell where he doesn't want to be in there anymore.
All right, so that's one. There's got to be some other things.
I mean, just by wrestling, I guess. Even though I've gotten away from it, which we're trying to fix now and getting back to the the bread and butter of what got me to where I am. So trying to crisp that up a little bit. But yeah, my clinch game is probably my strongest suit. Yeah.
So you're gonna take if in a perfect world, like next fight's March, you win. How would you want to win a fight?
Oh, I want to take a guy down and punch him till the ref stops.
Oh, so you want like a stoppage?
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Dude, I'm a heavyweight, man. Anything after 4 minutes, I'm like, God dang it, I gotta be out here. I gotta be out here for longer. I mean, I don't think anyone wants 15-minute fights, especially how exhausting they are.
Yeah. So, ground and pound till the ref stoppage.
Yep.
And then what? And then what?
Well, then I want to, perfect world, as you said, fight in March and then fight in June. Then that'll get me through the summer. I can go back home to Minnesota, go see family and stuff at the lake in the cabin for 6-7 weeks, so I can take a little break from it, and then come back and try to finish out the year in like November, December sometime. So I want to try to get my my 4 fights in, get them over and done with.
So is it like to be the champ or any of that stuff, or just like have a good career? Like,
I mean, yes, like walk my way up the ladder. And maybe it was a little too quick, too soon taking that Czech fight, because I knew I was so close. I was like right there. And after some disappointments, but as a professional athlete, that's part of the mental game. I gotta be ready for that type of stuff too. But end goal, I'd love to fight for a belt. But if it's not there, I'm just kind of one of if I turn out just being a stepping stone, well, I just want to ride it out and try to find the most money where I can while I can.
What percent of your desire is fighting the money, or versus like what percent of your desire is just fighting? Because some guys are like, man, I don't do it for the money at all, man.
Yeah, well, then they'd be doing it for free.
Right.
No, it's I love the sport. I love competing. But I wouldn't, if I wasn't getting paid, I would not be doing it. But I'd probably say it's probably 50-50 down the line, like, quite honestly. I'm not ready not to be done competing, and I'm not an Olympic wrestler, so I'm not going to be going into Olympic training center wrestling.
There's no money in that. We know that, right?
Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, this is kind of the best of both worlds right now.
This is something I've always, I've been in fights and college fights, and nothing like serious. No one ever really got seriously hurt, but like when you're in the ring, like you're getting punched in the fucking face. Do you feel that, like? Because let me give some more detail to that question. Like, you see these dudes, like that boxing match that was like recently, and the ref was like covered in blood, had on a white shirt. The shirt was like half red.
It looked like he freaking tried to tie-dye it, man. I was like, what happened? So,
like, what percent of that, like, I mean, do you guys feel pain and stuff in the ring? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm this hurts. Like, I guess a submission. That's he's gonna break my arm. I got to tap because it hurts. But like the punching and stuff, like how much of it is like it affects you? Like this pain affects you, or like is it more like I just got rocked and I'm kind of discombobulated, or like this hurts, I got to stop him?
Yeah, your second one right there. Usually when you're getting punched, it's a lot of them are just they're there, but they're not really taking your focus out of it. Because I mean, if you're locked in, you're focused on the guy across from you. You're gonna get hit, and it's not usually get peppered. The ones that do hurt are the ones like what you said. You get rocked, and you realize you're in danger because you're a little, little dizzy, a little trying to get here. And I've found out that even in your head, like you have the internal conversations, like, oh man, get yourself together. You think everything's nice and smooth, but your body's doing a whole different thing than what your brain's selling it to do. So I guess in that retrospect, it's just a lot of internal conversations is what you have with yourself. At least I do. And same thing with like submissions. I know I've been close to getting submitted a couple of times. It's like, he's almost there. And it's more of like fighting is more of an internal fight during the fight than actually the guy across from you. It really is.
Who's the toughest son of a bitch you fought? Like, have you fought anyone that you were just like, man, I do not want to fight that guy again?
I don't think I fought anyone that I haven't wanted to fight again. I have a couple guys I'd want to rematch with though. But I mean, Shamil, after my loss, I mean, he did really well. Like he racked off that the first fight in my UFC career, who I TKO'd him. Like, I mean, he's tough and he's durable, and I think he's still with the UFC, and he's like got like a 5-2 or 6-2 record with him now. I guess at the time I feel I probably got lucky getting by him. Honestly, I was like a 4-1 underdog or something like that. Like I was not supposed to win. But yeah, I wouldn't want to fight him again because it wouldn't get me nowhere.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Have you ever been scared of anyone?
I guess I was the most thing I was like probably scared of was probably Rose Holt because of his wrestling. I was scared of getting out wrestled because that was the only thing I knew how to do. And so that's kind of where I said my fight IQ just went out the window because I had so many opportunities to change that fight, but I was so bound and determined to out wrestle him that I just focused on that.
So it's something we talk about, like your ego or pride got in the way.
It really, because all leading up to it, oh, it's such a great wrestler. I was like, well, you know what? I'm all right too. I'll freaking show you good wrestling.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's one of those things we talk about from time to time. It's, like ego and pride.
Yeah, that was so stupid. I could have won that fight so many different ways, but I stuck with just wrestling.
I don't know that ego or pride has ever helped a person accomplish
absolutely
anything.
not.
And never done, been a benefit.
No. It makes you look like a dumbass.
It really does. And then you have to live with it too.
Yep.
Have you ever had anyone haul off and kick you or punch you and just knock the living shit out of you?
In the cage, no. To this day, I've never thrown a punch outside the cage, but I have my very first fight, I guess, if you can say a one-handed ass whooping was a fight. I just got my ass absolutely kicked by a couple guys, at a festival, and too drunk to walk, and I got my head used as a soccer ball. And,
oh, wow.
Yeah, I can tell you what size Doc Martens he was wearing, but that's about it.
Jesus.
I remember walking, it was the year after I All-American too, and I remember walking the paramedics after the crowd broke it up and everything, the cops and paramedics like, oh, we got to take you up here. I'm like, nah, I'm fine. I was there just kind of walking me along. I was like, out of everything that went on, it was just, I was embarrassed because I'm like, wait, I'm a wrestler. Oh man, this ain't supposed to happen to me. I had absolutely no clue about fighting. I've never been punched. I always had an idea about what would happen in a fight until I got my ass absolutely handed to me.
And did that have anything with you do? Did that have anything to do with you getting into fighting?
I think maybe a little bit. Maybe it was kind of that embarrassment stuck with me for a couple of years. So I had
subconsciously.
To go, yeah. So I'm like, it just gave me a better understanding of no one's got a freaking clue unless they've been in one.
So let me go back in time real quick. What were some of the things that went through your head when it was you're trying to balance being in the Army and fighting, and then more specifically, how long did you deal? How long did it take you to decide to get out to go spend more time to fighting?
Probably all that last year and a half of my contract. Let me see. Yeah, I signed with the UFC in the 15 there. So I had 8 months left of my contract. So that last year, I'll give it probably that last year. And I was looking at the benefits of yes and no and staying in and getting out. And I realized my 3-year extension that I did, I basically just did it for benefits. So it was kind of the same thing. Am I doing it just because I want to be here? Am I doing it because I'm reaping, all the benefits of healthcare and everything else?
Did your training or anything improve when you got out of the military?
Yes and no. It gave me more freedom. I didn't have to worry about, lining everything up or anything, and I could take fights whenever the heck they showed up. But then they're losing money every month you're losing money, so I had to pick up another job. So yes and no.
So it sounds like fighting professionally, UFC and now Bellator, it's just been a constant resets. Your life has been it sounds to me like you've been willing to reset and start from the bottom and start over numerous times.
But it's a grind, and you got to embrace that grind. I mean, I think it's almost a blessing and a curse, maybe. I don't feel like anything should be given. You have to work hard for whatever you want, no matter where you're at.
All right, let me ask this: what advice would you give to someone listening that wrestled, likes combat sports, likes boxing, BJJ, whatever it is, and wants to get into fighting? What would you tell? What advice would you give that person?
Take a bunch of amateur fights. Do not jump right to pro. Get as many amateur fights as you can get in right away. And get your experience up. Get your experience level up as high as you can before you make it pro. Once you do make it pro, do not duck anybody. and you go after somebody who's in your region, in that your region fight, fighters, pick your opponent and be like, that's the guy I got to beat, and work your way, and then call him out and fight that guy.
Why do you tell him not to duck anybody?
Promoters, you'll get a name for yourself as a person who will be like, oh, I don't really. If you get a name for yourself that picks and chooses, I mean, it's regional fighting, but a lot of like guys getting in don't understand. A lot of these regional promoters are well connected with guys higher above them. They know plenty of people. If you're kind of a picky and choosy fighter, they're not going to stick their neck out for you. If you're a guy that's gonna go in there and be part of the sport, go do MMA, like they'll help you achieve higher bigger organization.
So what advice would you give them long term? Like you say, take as many amateur fights as possible. Don't duck anybody. Like what's one other piece of advice you'd give them?
Just because you sign with a big organization does not mean your work's done.
That's when it sounds like it starts.
Yeah, that was always when I signed. I had a lot of people that were happy for me, and I said, "Listen, getting signed to the UFC is not the hard part. Staying in the UFC is the hard part." Yeah.
There's a commercial. So I graduated from Georgia in 2000, and I remember the number one Georgia won the national title in tennis and wound up beating Stanford.
Yeah.
But the number one singles guy in the country was this guy from Stanford, and signed with K-Swiss. Now I remember there was a K-Swiss commercial I'll never forget as long as I live, and it said, "How do you go from being ranked number 1 to 360 overnight? Turn pro." It was a great.
That's actually that's very. I like that.
Yeah, it was. I was like, wow, that's pretty powerful, man. It was a great commercial. Very, lesson. You're never, the moment you think you made it, that's when you're on the way out.
Yep.
And you constantly have to evolve. And this pertains to my business, which is, running social media for companies, working with, influencers and stuff, is the moment you think you've figured it out, you're doomed, because the algorithm on social media is changing. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, constantly changing. And the moment there's someone else out there that wants it, and while you're just kind of sitting around dicking around, there's someone else there. Someone else is out there working harder, or another brand is working to get past.
You always got to evolve as with it when it goes.
Yeah, man. So listen, dude, greatly appreciate it. I feel like I now understand more about how professional fighting works.
Yeah.
I also have been confirmed that that's something I don't want to do at 43. I don't want to get hit in the head by anybody. But listen, man, where can people find you?
Let me see. My Instagram, my Twitter are my handle's the same. T-Bear-Tim. Like teddy bear. I thought it was kind of cute.
T-Bear-Tim.
Yeah. And those are my handles on Instagram and Twitter. And then just my Facebook is just a normal, Timothy Johnson athlete page. There ain't too many Tim Johnsons out there, so it should be easy to find.
Yeah. And then if they want to see your next fight, how do we keep an eye on you and all that stuff?
You can kind of look me up. You can follow Bellator MMA. I should hopefully be on the main card. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
And otherwise, their streaming sites, DAZN, DAZN. Where they stream all the fights, and they can the boxing. All the boxing is now through that site as well, so you can kind of hunt me down through there.
Or follow you on social. You'll probably make an announcement.
Yeah, once or twice.
All right. Well, Tim, thanks for coming on, man. This is Baker Leavitt from SHOT Show in Las Vegas, Nevada, in the Venetian Hotel, and you are listening to Launch Code.